Hello, people. I'm just going to let this build up a little bit. Busy night. Didn't get to sleep till probably I think it was like 7:30 a.m. this morning. Editing, uploading, watching the American show, the Australia show. And yeah, big night. I got my predictions wrong. I'd originally said Michaela Mayer points and Savannah Marshall points. So that's always fun when you get those wrong. I also said Deontay Wilder would go 6-7 rounds. He goes and knocks Robert Helenius out in the first. But yeah, it was great night. A lot to talk about. I'll be about for about half an hour, guys, just to look back on it all. Got a great deal of content, and I'll continue to drip out throughout the day. Yeah, just any questions, fire away in the chats. Any thoughts of your own from last night? What did you guys take away from Shields Marshall, Mayor Baumgardner, some of the others on the undercard like Caroline Dubois, Caris Hartingstall, Lauren Price, Ebony Jones, who come on after the main. I don't know if you guys were able to watch Ebony. In fact, Shannon Ryan. Yeah, just let me know all of your thoughts as this all builds up and we get more people in, of course. Continue to like, comment, heart, all of that good stuff, and subscribe as well. Yeah, just looking back at last night, a historical occasion, as everybody was saying, sold out event. Couldn't really see any, well, I couldn't see any empty seats from where I was sat, running back and from my seat there to try and get content. A great night for Claressa Shields was so sharp. So I've never really kind of thought of her as a powerful puncher, and she might not agree with that, but her record would also suggest so. But she looked like she was getting to Savannah at times. I felt if she wanted to, she could have put her foot down a little bit more, but just her speed and accuracy was above what we've seen so far in her pro career, and certainly up at middleweight. Thank you, mate. Be interested to see what she does next. I don't imagine the Savannah Marshall fight, the rematch that is, will be big on the agenda. Yeah, shout out to Pidge. Appreciate you jumping on again, mate. Again, guys, as I say, any questions, comments, like, heart, all of that good stuff. Yeah, I agree. Shields was too good. Pidge, as everybody can see there, Pidge goes, Shields too good, showed herself to be a few levels above Marshall. Marshall did well to claw it back in the second half fight. She did, but Marshall did come back into it. There's some great exchanges. For Savannah to have had more success, she didn't need to be as close at times. She didn't need to be kind of sitting on her, trying to exchange. She's a lot better when there is that mid to long range gap for her to work with, and she never really provided it for herself. She was predominantly throughout the fight, from my angle, you see, she was pushing Claressa back more. Claressa was just outboxing her, and she was so sharp. Whereas if Savannah was able to keep that distance a touch more, I think it would have worked in her favour considerably better. But again, you can't really say anything. Sorry, you can't really take anything away from Claressa's performance. She was superb, and just kind of showed why she takes that tag as the quote. Whether people agree with that or not is another question. Obviously, Katie Taylor's the obvious name for it. But yeah, it's a fantastic performance from Claressa Shields. Interested to see where she goes next. Savannah Marshall, after the fight, Franchon Cruz DAZN was there, after the undisputed champion at 168. She had Savannah reach down over it, saying, let's get it on basically for the next fight. So I could imagine we'll see Franchon Cruz DAZN and Savannah Marshall potentially next up. But yeah, no idea what happens with Claressa. How did everybody else score it? What were your thoughts? I thought 97, 93, potentially 98, 92 would have been fair, but certainly 97, 93 was probably bang on. Nick Mundy, how bad was Tom Grennan? I was backstage when Tom was performing. I saw everybody's comments. I saw a few videos going about on Twitter. But I was backstage trying to get some post fights from the undercard, which is a lot easier said than done in the end. But yeah, good night overall. Obviously, Mayor Baumgardner as well. Terrific fight. As I said, I thought beforehand Michaela would win on points. In the end, I could argue a round either way or a draw. I don't think you could say anything more than that. I was surprised at just how tough and durable Michaela was. I know going into what everybody spoke about, and the general kind of analogy was Michaela's the better boxer of the two. Alicia the more heavier handed. Uh, Alicia did find Michaela find the target consistently throughout the fight, but Michaela showed a toughness, which surprised me because of how clean it seemed to be that Alicia was able to land on her. Thoughts on Big Boy 2K8, thoughts on the Helenius dive last night. Didn't think he took a dive, I just thought he caught him flush on the chin, mate, and I think Deontay showed why he's still one of the leading heavyweights in the division. Looking at who else is out there, obviously that sets up the Ruiz fight. Can't wait for that one whenever that one comes about. Still look to see the Anthony Joshua fight, and I think Deontay definitely still a top 5 heavyweight. Still make a case from being in the top 3 or top 4, not just scraping into the top 5 by the skin of his teeth. Why do you never give predictions for men's fights, Malcolm Tan? It's difficult. I always try to sit on the fence because I don't want to start having one fight to say, "Oh, you picked against me," and this, that, and the other. I like to try and stay neutral, but I do have my thoughts on fights. I do give predictions as and where. I'm sure if you give me some form of a question today about upcoming fights and predictions on those, I'll give you them. Like we did the stream yesterday. I said I thought Deontay would go 6-7 with Helenius. Granted, he was not the heavy favourite for that fight, but there were still question marks over how much he had left. And of course, when he stopped him in the first, I said Devin Haney, wide points. Didn't think he'd go and take any risks against George, which proved to be the case. So I still do give those, but I can kind of see where you're coming from. Give an interview with Eddie Hearn. I think Rob's on that one. I haven't heard anything off Eddie since obviously all the news broke last week. I think speaking to a couple of people around the show last night, something could come out in this coming week on Team Benn's behalf or Matchroom and what have you. So I'd keep my eyes peeled on that one. Yeah, guys, just give me your thoughts, more questions. What did you make of all of the shows last night? What did I make of Haney's performance? Haney looked sharp again. He was always just kind of in control. Never really had many questions. Well, George started well. He was a lot more aggressive. I think I had him won the first one. Argued he won the second one, but then the second one was a lot closer. But then Devin, once he found his rhythm, just got back behind his jab. It was just a comfortable night's work for Devin again. But fair play to George, obviously, with what he's done in his career in short space of time, beating Selby and then beating Tiafimo, getting 2 big paydays back to back against Devin, and ultimately secured his future with or without boxing. And George will still get big fights as well. George will be, he could be in contention for. You could see him maybe with a Shakur Stevenson. Not saying that he beat Shakur Stevenson by any stretch of the imagination, but he's still a name. He's still a former unified or undisputed, whether you class the franchise or not, as an undisputed champion. He'll still get those fights. I'd love to see him versus, say, an Isaac Cruz or a Rolly Romero. Those big fights out there for him as well. Do I think Zelfa Barrett can win a world title? I think Zelfa can win a world title. I think the Rakimov fight's a very difficult fight. Rakimov's very well known to the hardcore boxing fans, as it were. But Zelfa looked very good in Cardiff last time out. Tough night's work, but it's a doable fight. It just comes down to his preparations and how he wants to go about it. But it's definitely a winnable fight. Thoughts on Caleb Plant? Thought Caleb looked good, and then that stoppage was a nasty knockout. Catching Dural flush on his chin was. I don't think many people expected to see that one, but it was a bit of a stinker fight, as it were. But with the styles that both fighters had, I didn't really expect it to catch a light. But yeah, the knockout was certainly one to remember. What did you guys make of those cards out in America and Haney Kambosos yourselves? Look, my hair's looking like a bit of a mess here. Marshall looked like she had cement in her boots, slow and clumsy. It was difficult. It's like I said earlier, I felt that when she had Clarissa backed up against the ropes, she was keeping too close. She wasn't allowing a bit more space to work with, which would have benefited her and her style a little bit more. Instead, she closed the gap and just kind of traded off or attempted to trade off. But when she was in those scenarios, she was either catching gloves or hands, or Clarissa was dodging them and countering. Two KO of the year candidates back to back with Baumgardner 100%. We've seen some unbelievable knockouts this year. Good lad Andi has John Fury stew. John Fury stew is still one of the best meals I've ever eaten. Shout out John Fury. He would win Haney versus Loma. It's difficult to. I personally think Lomachenko would win that fight. I think he'd beat him on points. Um, I think Devin's done remarkably well, but also I don't imagine we'll see that fight. We could, I think, well, realistically, a 135, it's either Loma or potentially Shakur with top rank. Away from that, I think Devin most realistically will look to move up because he did not look great on the scales, but he got the job done last night again. Did you see when pretended to dig and throw dirt under all? Right, that was some celebration from Caleb Plant. You can see it's obviously, I haven't followed the build up to that fight, so I imagine it's been a very tense and a built up rivalry between the pair of them, and there must have been a lot said in between for Caleb to give that type of reaction, because it's not something which I would have associated with him, but yeah, he certainly created another talking point from it. Any chance of a Mayer interview? She won't be happy, but don't think she can complain too much as it was so close. We did reach out to Team Mayer this morning, but she's apparently already back on a flight heading home. I think Sky Sports spoke to her, and we've just been told that she was travelling back, and we'll look to get something done once the dust has settled a little bit. Obviously, a close fight, but yeah, we've been told she's travelling back, so we'll look to get something set up, presumably over Zoom in the coming weeks. Guys, yeah, hit up that like button, subscribe, throw your questions at me, anything you've got, let me know. Malcolm Tam, best meal you ate two-day-old pot of vegetables. Listen, I'm a simple man. I like my simple things in life. Two-day-old stew and mixed grills. What more could a man desire? Jim McDonald, that's a serious quiff. Yeah, I've just rolled out of bed today. It's not looking great, but it's not looking good, bruv, as it is. Maya for a toys out. It's difficult in the heat of what was such a close fight, and the arguments that either fighter could have won. Like I said, you could have either give it a round either way or a draw. I understand the frustrations. I'm not a fighter, so I can't, you know, really put myself in their positions. I think it's harsh for somebody to say that, but I understand why it looked like that, and I didn't necessarily agree with how she went about it. But again, I understood her frustrations and why she was not in the best of moods on the back of that fight. But I'm sure we'll see her back. She's a huge girl for that weight, so definitely imagine we'll see her moving up too. But yeah, guys, keep on throwing your questions, same thing, great. Basically, keep on keep me entertained, and I'll try and answer whatever I can as we edge ever nearer towards the end of a hectic week. I think I did about 15 interviews last night, so I'm certainly kind of reeling from that. Still, it was a long one, but all the fun of working in boxing. When he's Andy next on tour, who knows, mate? There's a lot of shows coming up. I can't really remember the schedule off the top of my head. I think no show this weekend in the UK at least. October 29th, I think I'm heading to Jake Paul, Anderson Silva. Whether that's everybody's cup of tea is another question. November 5th is Dimitri Bivol. I think I will be there for that. November 12th, back for Dalton Smith. 19th is skipping my mind. Can't remember what's happening on the 19th. But yeah, I don't think it will. CPFC 1905, like he says, I don't think it will happen. But if Joyce fights Wilder, could Joyce take Wilder's best shot? Personally, I think Wilder would KO Joyce. It's the question that's been on everybody's lips since Joyce Parker. I would love to see Joyce Wilder. I think it's a difficult one to answer because even though Deontay came back and he looked great, obviously with that first round stoppage win last night against Helenius, it's if someone's starting to put it back on Deontay, would Deontay crumble? Like that's one thing we didn't get from last night. For as much as Helenius was on the front foot, Deontay times that right hand beautifully. I think Joe could take it, but how many of them in a fight could he take? I don't think he'd be able to take it for 12 rounds. It would not be a fight which would go distance. Either one of them would stop the other. I would lean towards Deontay, but Joe Joyce in that fight has a very good chance of beating him. Got probably about 5 minutes left, so yeah, throw more mixed grill questions at me. Joe Chahal, chili chips or masala chips with a mix. I always go masala chips. I'll go with my friends, they always get chili chips, but I love masala chips personally. Which stands as the better fight, Taylor versus Serrano or Shields versus Marshall? I think Taylor versus Serrano simply because that was massive in America. You got Katie Taylor travelling over from Ireland, and that sold out MSG, which I don't think anybody would have expected to have been the case 5-6 years ago. But then, having said that, I don't think anyone would have expected a full female card to be taking place and centre stage at the O2 Arena on a prime Saturday fight night. So both have their merits for which was better, but for me, Taylor Serrano just edges it. Um, Joe would have bad CT if he fought Wilder and didn't drop. Listen, that's obviously always a concern with boxing. If somebody takes one too many shots, I think, like I say, Joe would have a chance on winning it, but I would edge Deontay. I think Deontay would gradually get to him and stop him. But as I say, Joe's got a very good chance in that fight. When's your boy Ben Whittaker back out? Ben is currently recovering from his shoulder surgery. I believe the plan is next year. I spoke to the team early this week. Ben's just kind of letting that heal up, and he's going to hopefully go for a big 2023. Helenius come steaming in first round with his chin in the air, easy work for Wald. So it was, yeah, and I completely agree. I wasn't quite expecting it to be that easy, but at the same time, you're kind of watching Deontay, and are you looking at Deontay thinking, does he look cautious, or is he just weighing up and eyeing up that perfect time to throw the right hand? It was a balance to which way you think he was going to go. After that. So yeah, that one was. I've lost where I was just talking to Ben there. But yeah, moving on. Taylor Serrano was much more competitive too, and both visibly hurt. It was more exciting overall. Yeah, I mean Taylor Serrano was obviously a great fight, a closer fight as it were. There was an action-packed fight. Don't get me wrong, Shields Marshall was also full of entertainment, but there was kind of a clear winner on the night. Whereas with Taylor Serrano, I still had Katie winning, but I you could argue why Amanda could have been successful in her own case as well. Probably got a few minutes left, guys, before we do have to shoot. So get your final questions in. Did you try and get an interview with my like I said earlier, we reached out to Michaela's team this morning, but we've been told she's flying back to the US. So once kind of the dust has settled, I'm sure she'll be up for doing stuff, kind of getting her thoughts across and giving her next moves and where she wants to go from here. Jag Singh, safe Andy, keep the good work. I appreciate that, my man. Thank you. What's going on with Buatsi? Would he ever fight Yard? I'm not actually quite sure what's the current scenario with Buatsi. Saw him briefly last night, but that was kind of a passing hello. I know Josh has been pushing for, I say pushing, but from what's been said to me, he's keen on a big domestic fight. But whether that happens or not is another question. Obviously, Callum Smith's eyeing up the WBC title because of his position now in those rankings. Yard's got the Baturbia fight lined up. Josh has just fought and beat Craig Richards. So they're the leading names domestically. Callum Johnson, not quite sure what's happening with him, but rival promoter. So yeah, don't know what's happening there. Andy, when you go to a barber, do you say, give me the Elvis? No, I don't. I'm just very fortunate to have a good head of hair. I have, as I always say to people, I have the best hairline in boxing, and I will pay anybody to find me somebody who you think has a better hairline in boxing. That's my gloat, as it were. But yeah, it's looking extra volumey today. Yeah, guys, got probably one or two more minutes before we have to shoot. I've got to get back to Birmingham. Brad's got to get back to Bradford. So long journey ahead of us both. Try to get those interviews in today. So I've reached out to Peter Fury. Haven't heard back from him. Understandable. Obviously, I imagine he just wants to be with Savannah and just kind of, you know, keep her spirits up. She was in good spirits last night. She took the loss on the chin. Didn't give up any excuses. But I'm sure it's obviously a difficult one to take given the rivalry which had built up over time. So yeah, haven't heard back from him. We reached out to Maya's team, didn't get anything anywhere because she's travelling back. So yeah, big John, big Jim McDonald. Sorry. What's your three best wins? What are you referring to there as in your three best wins? Luis Ortiz has best hairline in boxing considering he's 60 years old. Listen, shout out Luis Ortiz, but still doesn't come close to mine. Um, you're on luxury of a mini gym. Seems like Big A and Jim are having a back and forth here, which I'm getting confused with. But guys, I believe that may well be that we have to get ready to shoot off. Like I say, hope you've enjoyed the content this week. Obviously, more to come. No show next weekend, so we'll be trying to keep you all entertained with unique content as the week goes on. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, and thank you for watching ID Boxing, guys. Enjoy the rest of your